Good morning, my friends. So I am trying to work around the lighting of today. It is pretty much a dark, gloomy day, so my lighting is not at its optimal. But I will take you through steps on what I'm doing. Today I am going to be planting a few vegetables, one being bok choy. I'm going to be doing 2 different bunching onions and a thing of chives. These are all cool weather plants for me, and I'm going to go ahead and get these started. I'm also going to give you an update on the lemongrass that I told you that I planted, and this has been now 6 days. Um, I had covered them up, and I'll show you that with this new seedlings and how I've covered them and everything. And very surprisingly, I am starting to see some germination. Though it is going to be hard to see the things that I see, you should be able to see at least 2 of these, but there are about 6 plants popping up at the moment. Now remember, these take anywhere from 5 to 21 days to germinate, and this is day 6, so I was really happy to see this. I'm not exactly sure how many I'm going to get that are going to survive, but I'm working on my best on this, and if I have to, I'll replant them later in the months. But I wanted to see if I can get these started indoors since I've never done them by seed before. So I'm going to run through a few things with you before I get started and what I'm using, how I'm using it, why I'm using it, and we will go from there. So I'm going to flip this around so that I can show you the babies and some of the things that I'm going to use in my soil, and explain this to you. So let me get this flipped around. All right, so right now this is my setup. My husband built me this platform to hold my grow light. Now this is a small one. I normally have this entire table full of plants when it comes to our big season, but I'm going to be eliminating some of these by direct sowing this year. But for right now, this is my starter. So I have, which I was blessed with, a Perfect Works, and I'm not going to go directly on that light because it will blind you, but this is a Perfect Works system. This right here is my grow heat mat. I do have a temperature gauge over here that it is connected to. I have a timer right now that I'm also using for my lights. So this is my setup. Now this right here is the babies, and I don't know, let me see if I can get this setting in there. Can you see right here is one of my babies right there, and then right here is my other one. So, and then the other ones, they are a bit harder to see because they're in there. These were covered in a dome, but the moment I saw those little sprouts come up, I uncovered it so that I don't ruin these. The reason I uncover it, and it is best to, whether the rest of them have germinated or not yet, you don't want to suffocate them pretty much. You can end up turning these leaves yellow if they get too much moisture, if they get too much heat. So at this moment is when I want to give them air. I don't want to promote mold on my soil. So this is how I end up doing mine. Now over here is what we're going to work on and setting up my new seedlings, and they're all set up into their containers. The soil that I use, and I'm hoping you can see this, what I'm going to do is try to bring this over here better so that you can see with this lighting, and I apologize for this lighting, but this is my soil. And what I am using, a lot of people will use coco coir in mixes. I don't have any coco coir. I do have spargham peat moss. I have worm castings. I have very fine vermiculite and perilite. And I will mix this mixture and I will dampen this. Now, it's light and airy, and this is what I want. I don't want fertilizers in this. I want a pretty much virgin soil. The worm castings will help promote germination. It does give these seedlings somewhat of a nutrition, but not something overpowering that they can't handle. You want as much of a virgin soil as you can get. Now, when I dampen this, it's kind of like a squeezed out wet sponge. That's all I want. So I can form it like so, and it'll stay, but it breaks up very easy. I don't want it compacted to where my seeds cannot grow through this. So, and when I water, I try to water from the bottom. It doesn't always work that perfectly, but if I do water them any, I try not to, like I said, I try to keep mold out of my soil. So I will use a spray bottle for mine very lightly just to keep those seeds moistened. Another thing you can use, honestly, if you don't have all the ingredients that's in my mix, and I have used this before, it has worked perfectly for my babies. And it's another virgin soil, and I'll show this one to you. I would pick it up at Walmart, and this is what I use. Let me see if I can get this. There you go. Natural organic Jiffy seed starting mix. There is absolutely nothing in this mix except for what the babies need to start with. It is lightweight, but I will tell you, too much watering will promote, and I don't care what you use, will promote mold, and you really do not want that. So be careful how you water. And if the most part, like I try my best, I water from the bottom up. So you can use this, and it does work effectively. Now, when I bought this last year, it was about $4, almost $5. So I don't know what it's going to be this year, but this is another good source that you can use. So I'm going to pause this, get set up, and we'll start planting some seeds. All right, now another thing, a lot of us will get these kits already made, will come in these little bitty cells. What I have learned out of this is I would not plant too many seedlings or seeds in each of these cells, because those seedlings, when they grow, they promote roots and they can be quite thick. And using these, I will only use these for certain amount of plants anymore, and I will not plant that many. Or I won't plant as many in each cell, because you're going to have to up pot these rather quickly. Now, like my onions and all, this is going to give me room. I can plant some more in this type. Let's see if I can get this to come in. I can plant more in this type, yet keeping it to a point where it's going to be manageable, but it will also keep me from up potting it too much. So I tend to use the planters. And now these these came from purchased plants that my husband got. I have kept them, and I'm going to reuse them, but before I reuse them, I always tend to wash my containers out really good so that they come out and start with a fresh, clean package or casing. I keep that from any other diseases, bacteria, or anything that could be in these planters. I will clean them to make sure that they're a fresh start for my babies. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up so we can start planting some of these. Okay, so first thing I do is I will take my mix in here, and I'm going to fill up my cells to a certain point, because some of these, now each one has a different depth in the seed planting. Some of them are a ½ inch, like the bok choy. Some of them are only 1/8 of an inch, which means you barely, if any, want to cover it. You just want to take the seed and push it down onto the soil. And then the 1/4 of an inch, which is lightly covering it. You do not want to cover it very deeply. So, and it's not necessarily necessary to have grow lights in the beginning. I tend to do it. My timer is set from 12 to 16 hours of lighting for mine. They go off automatically at night. I thought at one point when I started this that my seeds had to be, the seedlings had to have light on them before and after through the whole entire night. And I've been known to leave them on 24/7. that's not necessary. So I do now put them on a timer. As far as grow lights are concerned, I have, that's just one that I was blessed with. That one's pretty pricey, but the ones that I am able to afford, they're no more than $20 at Walmart, and they have 32 lumens, or 3200 lumens to them. That is plenty enough lighting, and I adjust it accordingly from about an inch from the top all the way up to the point of their growing. So that is one I can work with, and it spreads out quite wide in the lighting. So you can go with a 2200 or 25. Like I said, I have the 32 and it's actually better. I wouldn't go no less though at 22. So I filled this in, and now this one is a 1/2 inch space depth. So I will take my chopstick here and I'm just going to lightly put indentations. I'm only going to put 3 seeds per cell because these do get quite big, and I don't plan on putting these out there for a little bit, at least until sometime in February once they get established. This is something I am also trying. I can direct sow bok choy, but I'm learning right now with the temps that we have, just like my lettuce and all, I'm probably going to end up replanting those seeds as well in February. So I'm just putting 3 spaces in each one. That gives me 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 plants. And that's plenty enough because I can actually reseed these again and make some more. And I don't want them too deeply. Again, they're only supposed to be about a 1/2 inch. So I'm actually going to make sure that these are not too deep. Just make slight indentations in it. These seeds are tiny, but they're enough that you can grab them and pop them in. So, and that's all I'm going to do right there. I'm going to see how well, I guess I'm experimenting this year on some things, but I'm going to see how well these actually work. I plant more than one because of the germination rates. I want to see how many will germinate, and if they all do, that's fantastic. Okay, it seems like my video had just cut out in the middle of doing this, and I sincerely apologize for that as well. I'm going to go ahead and continue to plant these right like this. One reason I like bok choy is it's good for Asian dishes, great for sautés. It's like a little head of cabbage with a nice crisp to our dishes. So this one's almost finished, and then I'll show you what I do after this. I talked about watering it from the bottom. So this is all now planted. I will lightly cover these just like so. And that's it. So now at this point, I've got my 18 plants. Now I'll move this over so you can see this next step. I'll have some rather warm water in this container, and I will just drop this in here and let that bottom absorb that water to the top. This way it doesn't keep it so moist on the top of here. It'll actually water the entire length of my soil from the bottom up. And I'm going to let this sit for a bit and see what, till we get this nice and moistened. and then I will stick it over here in my container while I get my next set to plant. So I'll set this aside, let that fill up, and I'm going to work on my chives and my bunching onions next. I will show you in the end of this what exactly I do to prepare it for its growing, and we will be right back. Okay, so now that these are all planted, they are sitting on a heat mat set with the temperature gauge of no more than 70 degrees, and they get domed. Now what will happen with these, after I see germination coming up and I start seeing plants, this dome will come off, and every one of these will be coming off of this heat mat. I don't need it for anything else besides just to help with germination. That is it. So this is what we've got going on right now. Again, and I also want to thank L&L, I think it's Honeybees. She gave me an idea for these tags. I had an old mini blind that I was actually going to get ready to toss, so I took segments of those blinds and made tags for these vegetables, and I thank you for that because it saved me a lot of money, and I've got tags that'll last me for quite some time now with that idea, so I'm going to keep that old mini blind. But that's it, y'all. This is all we are planting until at least the middle of February. And then this entire table will have quite a few plants, but only a few select, because a lot of those are going to be direct sown in at least the middle of April this year. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this helped some. I am so loving my little lemongrass. I didn't think I could actually do this by seed, so I'm waiting to see what happens with these. It is kind of still a cool month, and if I have to start over again, it's a learning lesson. I will do that. So until next time, we will see you for the Pantry Challenge supper tonight, and we will sup together then. And so at this point, I'll just say thank you very much for all who stick with me. Thank you for your love, and Parton's Heritage Homestead. We'll see you soon.